I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Briana Dominica. Briana is a singer-songwriter who focuses mostly in the contemporary Christian music genre. In this episode, we talk about what got her into music and why she chose specifically to be a Christian singer-songwriter. We also talk about some events in her past that really made her question her faith and how she was able to come back to her faith. Briana also talks to us about her Angel in the Sky project, which focuses on helping raise awareness and helping to prevent suicide. And finally, we talk about her new album, Warrior in Me, and she lets us play a track off of that and one of her previous albums. So enjoy. This is my conversation with Christian singer-songwriter Briana Dominica.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Briana Dominica. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for asking. So, Briana, we're going to let everybody get to know you, and we're going to start from when you were a teensy-weensy baby. It is my understanding that your parents maybe left where they were to go somewhere else to have you?
My parents were living in the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas, and the medical wasn't great down there. So my mom had family up in Falmouth, Massachusetts. So my mom went up to Falmouth to have me. So I was technically born in Massachusetts and then spent the first 3 years of my life in St. Thomas and then moved to South Florida.
Now, is the St. Thomas, is that the U.S. Virgin Islands or the British Virgin Islands?
U.S. Virgin Islands.
Gotcha. So I know that you remember every single day from 0 to 3, just like everybody else. So how was St. Thomas?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I lived on an island. My dad was the food and beverage director of a big hotel down there, and my mom was in charge of convention services. And so we lived in the hotel. So I was basically, I don't know if you know the story of like Eloise, the little girl that like lived in the hotel. I was basically Eloise from 0 to 3.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You know, running up and down the halls, hanging out with the maids and going in back in the kitchen, riding my tricycle in the ballroom.
Nice. Tricycle in the ballroom is a little scary. That makes me picture like The Shining. So let's move on to different pictures in that. But it sounds like my kids, when they were little, they used to watch this Disney show called Zack and Cody or something.
Yes. Yep.
And I think they lived in a hotel too, or something like that.
Yep. It was essentially that.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of fun for you and a lot of not fun for everybody else. Oh, that's awesome. And so you lived there for how long?
Until I was 3. And we moved to South Florida.
Why Florida?
Because both of my parents were from the north and they didn't want to go back to the cold because they'd been in the island for so long. So they thought Florida would be the perfect spot.
Oh, snowbirds.
Yeah, they didn't want to go back up north. They didn't like the cold. So they chose Florida.
So you grew up in southern Florida, right?
Yeah.
How far away from, I guess, Alabama is right there? They share a border or something?
Yeah, that's like, to get to the panhandle from where I was from is probably about 11 or 12 hours.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So at what point did you decide to, I guess, long before you moved to Nashville, you got into music? Tell me about how music got into you.
My parents always had music playing in the house, so I was introduced to all genres at a very early age, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I'd be singing like Whitney and Celine and Jesus Loves Me in my diaper, so I've been singing for as long as I can remember.
Wait, you were singing Celine in your diaper?
Not good. Not good. I was trying.
Wow. I'm thinking you should probably use a microphone because a diaper will muffle all of the sound quality. Sorry, that was some terrible dad humor. My apologies. So, from a very, very tiny little barely walking age, oh, you probably weren't even in this country yet when you were singing.
No. Well, technically.
Well, I mean, I guess technically, yeah, since
Yeah.
it was the U.S. ones. But,
Yeah.
wow, you were not on the mainland. How's that?
No, I was not on the mainland when I started singing.
Oh, wow. So, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh gosh. At first I wanted to be like an Olympic figure skater, but then I really started taking like voice lessons and I always wanted to be a singer.
Now, you took voice lessons for like 10 years, right?
I still take voice lessons. I feel it's very
nice.
important to keep the practice and to always grow and learn because your voice changes as you age and stuff like that. So I find that very important for my craft.
I think that is fantastic. You know, actors continue to go to acting classes and, you know, nurses continue to go to continuing education, and it shouldn't make much of a difference if your profession is, you know, singing. You have to keep working that instrument, and like you said, it changes, so you got to get to know it, and sometimes you got to get to know it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you play any instruments?
I don't. I try to, and it just, like, I've tried piano, I've tried guitar, but it's just not the same for me. I want a microphone, I want to sing. And I feel like I lose the passion when I'm just trying to play an instrument.
Well, that makes 100% sense. Now, when you were finding your musical voice, did you try a few different genres and then finally settle on one?
I did. I was actually originally classically trained. I was classically trained for, I think, like about 10 years.
What does that mean, classically trained?
Like in classical music, so like opera and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then I wanted to be the next pop star, so I ventured into the pop world and realized I didn't really fit there either. And then I kind of stumbled into contemporary Christian music, and that's where I've been thriving for about 5 or 6 years now.
How does one stumble into contemporary Christian music?
Well, I was raised Roman Catholic, so like my definition of Christian music was hymns. I didn't know anything about CCM or contemporary Christian music until a friend of mine introduced me, not literally introduced me, but introduced me to Laura Story's music. And I heard that and I just fell in love with the genre and was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want my music to invoke in people. And that was, like I said, about 5 or 6 years ago.
So what about that particular genre spoke to your spirit? I have to assume that it's got something to do with, you know, faith and the story and maybe a certain feeling. So what was it about this particular genre that spoke to you so deeply?
It was definitely a faith thing. The irony was when I had stumbled across the genre, I was actually...
You're a very clumsy young lady. You're stumbling all over the place.
I actually, which I know we'll touch on later, but I had actually stepped back from my faith and was practicing Buddhism at the time. I discovered Christian music and it just brought me right back to my faith and brought me back to God. It just spoke to me and moved me in a way no other musical genre had. I mean, Don't get me wrong, I have respect for all the musical genres just because, like I said, my parents played everything in the house from like Broadway to jazz to classical to rock. We had everything playing, so I love everything. But it was who I was. It just spoke to me.
Are you sitting outside of an airport on the tarmac?
Nope.
Are you sitting in the middle of a highway?
I'm actually in my apartment, but I think the lawn guys are kind of going by.
What time is it where you are?
It's 9 a.m.
Oh, heck no. We don't roll with that in Texas. You start mowing the lawn at 9 a.m., you're going to get stuff thrown at you. So we will talk a little bit later about why you took a break from your Roman Catholic faith. But first, I want to know why, when you did decide to make that change, why did you pick Buddhism?
I had a friend of mine that was practicing, and, she saw I was struggling. She was actually my vocal coaches she was my vocal coach at the time. And, she saw me struggling, and she said, why don't you come with me to this meeting? And it was a Buddhist meeting, and the principles of the practice really spoke to me at that time in my life and taught me like there's no coincidence and things happen for a reason. And it just spoke to me in that time.
I'm going to assume that you left your Roman Catholic faith because there was a dark period in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to assume that you left because you were searching for answers and understanding to some things that had happened?
Yes.
Did you find any of those answers when you were, I guess, dipping your toes into the Buddhist religion? Did that help you at that time?
It did at that particular moment, but it didn't necessarily help in the long haul. It was more of like a trying to fix something, but going about it the wrong way. Or not the wrong way. That's not what I'm trying to say. The wrong way for me. It wasn't the right way for me, is what I'm trying to say.
It wasn't your path.
Yes, 100%. Not to say that the things and the principles I learned during that time are not things I still carry with me today, but in the long haul, it was my Christian faith that really helped me to heal. Or going back to my Christian faith, not necessarily my Roman Catholic faith, but my Christian faith. And rediscovering kind of my own faith, not the faith that I grew up with, but my own personal relationship with God, as opposed to trying to mimic what my parents' relationships were or my grandparents. Finding my own relationship with God was very important in my healing process.
So I think that throughout the course of a person's life, people and things come in and out of people's lives just for a small time, maybe even for a reason. And so it sounds to me, and take this for what it's worth, but it sounds to me like even though you didn't get everything you were looking for out of Buddhism, I feel like it might have been there as a stopgap to help you sort of find even footing or somewhat even footing, and maybe even keep you from doing something that would have been pretty detrimental.
Yeah, that would definitely be an accurate take.
Okay. Now we're going to get to the tough stuff. Do you got a tissue handy?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. Now, I want you to tell me about your work with Charisse Bultore.
Cherie is great. Her and I have been working to put together a suicide prevention outreach program. And I'm excited to say that we'll be kicking it off in 2020. And it's called the Warrior in Me Tour. And we'll be going into middle and high schools to raise awareness and teach the students healthy coping mechanisms and ways to prevent suicide.
Why is why suicide? Why is this subject important to you?
I have lost 3 family members to suicide and one of my very dear friends. One of those family members was my oldest brother, David Arthur Colomecco. He and I were really, really close. He was my rock and my protector and my best friend. So that one really like they all hit hard, but that one just really shocked me and it changed my life. It happened when I was 16 and it literally has shaped who I've become, or the adult I've become, I should say.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Guess what, Streetwalkers? The gear is here. A bunch of you have been asking for quite some time, and now finally it's here. Head over to FascinationStreetPod.com and check out the gear tab. There, you'll find all kinds of FSP items to tickle your fancy. T-shirts, coffee mugs, sticker packs, pins, buttons, coasters, and my personal favorite, for just $5 you can get one of those weird little phone handle pop thingies. So head to FascinationStreetPod.com and show the world that you're proud to be a streetwalker. Special thanks to my good buddy Stephen O'Reilly from the Bar Star Podcast for these dope drum beats. Check out Steve's work at O'Reilly Drums on Instagram or search Stephen O'Reilly on YouTube.
Let's get back into it.
I know this is difficult to talk about, and feel free to opt out at any time. Was there any reasons? Was there any notes? Like, that seems like a lot of people in your tight circle to have done that. Were they related? The reasons? Like, was there, I don't even know how to ask this, but do you have any idea why all of this happened?
I was really young when we lost my cousin Chris. I was only 4, so I don't necessarily remember that one. I just remember seeing the sadness it created in the family. And then the next suicide was my brother's. And like I said, I was 16 at the time. And at that time, David was like, this sounds bad, but he was like my world. We were so close.
That doesn't sound bad.
I understood more and I saw how devastating it was. I saw my parents go through the loss of a child. I lost a sibling. My brother didn't leave a note. He just sent a text to his girlfriend at the time saying, tell my family I'm sorry and I love them. But he struggled with a cocaine addiction, and I truly believe that he felt that was his only way to get clean. That's just what I believe in my heart. I mean, some of my other family members don't necessarily agree with that, but that's just what I truly believe is he felt. And this is not the truth at all. He felt that because he had fallen off the wagon again, and I felt like he felt he was a disappointment to us and that we'd be better off without him. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I'd give anything to have my brother back, you know. But that's a common misconception. I'm in an interesting position because after losing my brother, I've struggled with these suicidal thoughts myself. I was bullied in middle and high school. And I always felt that it should have been me that died and not my brother. And because I thought all these bullies were telling me I was nothing so I thought people would be better off without me. And I know firsthand that that's not the case. So that's why I never took that action, even though I did think about it. So I truly feel that was what was going through my brother's mind and probably my cousin's mind and my aunt's mind and my friend's mind, you know, that they thought they were doing a favor or not a favor, but thinking that the people in their lives would be better off without them. And that just isn't the case. I don't know if that necessarily answers your question per se, but
I feel like it did. So you were 16 when your brother took his life. How old was he?
He was 35.
And again, I know this is hard and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but if you had the opportunity to ask him one question, what would it be?
Well, I actually wrote a song about that question.
What? What a heck of a segue. Tell me more about that. Or you don't have to. You can just let it go. It's fine.
I was in a co-write, and I had written an entire song, and I thought it was a really good song. I really did. Like, I went into this co-write, and I was like...
What is a co-write? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What is a co-write?
A co-write is basically... They're very popular in Nashville. Since I don't play an instrument, I have to basically always do co-writes. It's where I bring someone else in to write my melodies. So it's like two people write the song. Like, I have someone write the melody for me, and I write the lyrics.
Gotcha.
Or you write with another person. Like, I've written with people. I've done three-way writes where I write with two other writers. So I went into this co-write with my good buddy Keith, and I brought him the lyrics, and I'm like, this is like the best song I had ever written. I was like super excited about this song. And he said, "Little buddy," which is what he calls me, "I think you can dig a little deeper." I'm like, what? Huh? Really? And as I was leaving the write, he says, "I have a question for you." And I was like, what? He said, "What would you say if you could see your brother one more time?" And I thought about that question a lot. And I kept coming back to the same answer, like, why? How could you do this to me? How could you do this to our family? And almost this anger. And I was like, I got mad at myself for being angry because I felt I didn't have a right to be angry, partially because he wasn't here to defend himself. And it took me 9 years, and there are 5 stages of grief, and anger being one of those stages. And it took me 9 years, and I was finally able to come to the last stage of my grief journey in regards to my brother's suicide. And that was anger. And I was able to accept that anger, surrender to it, and say, okay, I need to let this anger go before it consumes me and makes me make choices that I wouldn't typically make, or lets the anger pull me down the way whatever was going on inside my brother pulled him down. And so that's where my song "Let It Go" came from.
I don't know if you'd be up for. Is that on your new album?
No, that's on my Testimony album.
Oh, okay. And that one is your. Let me see here. That's your second album, right?
Yes.
That's an EP.
Full length.
Oh, full length. Good job. I know that you have a new album that's coming out. Would it be possible for me to play "Let It Go"?
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce it?
Yeah, sounds good. This is my song "Let It Go" off of my Testimony album.
So, folks, this is "Let It Go" off of her second album, Testimony.
So much left unsaid, created endless questions, waging war inside my head. Why was it loving now? What made you feel alone? How did I miss the sun? Answers that
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I actually had an opportunity to hear that song in another setting, and I really, really, really like that song. The writing is wonderful, and the melody is just so gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Tell me about your project, Angel in the Sky.
Yes, Angel in the Sky is a 501c3 nonprofit organization for suicide prevention and awareness, which I started in loving memory of my cousin Chris, my Aunt Debbie, and of course my brother David. And I started that in 2016.
And what is the purpose of it?
Our mission is to shine a light on suicide prevention through awareness and education and music, and of course sharing my story. My heart's desire is that this mission can save lives and help kids that are struggling so other families don't have to go through the tragedy and the heartbreak my family went through.
And so how do you outreach? Do you speak at schools? Do you hold concerts? What do you do?
Well, we're still trying to get off the ground. It is a challenge, when I had the idea, my parents were like, Briana, this is a huge undertaking. I'm like, how hard can it be? I see all these celebrities start nonprofits like it's nobody's business. It is much more difficult than it looks. Let me tell you.
Well, and also to be fair, all of those celebrities you were thinking of, they have teams of people that are doing it for them. They just sort of point and say, I want that. And then all these people go make it happen.
Right.
And so if you're having to do that, then yeah, that's going to be a lot harder for you than for them. But please continue.
So at the moment, we've been doing some benefit concerts. We've done 3 benefit concerts so far. And like I said, in 2020, we are going to kick off the Warrior in Me tour, which is going to be an outreach tour for schools, church youth groups, boys and girls clubs, things like that. Basically, a middle and high school demographic would be what the program is geared towards.
Gotcha.
And we teach them about the different resources available to them, coping mechanisms, healthier coping mechanisms, which was one of my saving graces, was finding my music and my songwriting. I was making some pretty unhealthy choices after I first lost my brother, just teaching them the healthier coping mechanisms, like ways to help and spot the warning signs in themselves or in their friends.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, click the Amazon banner at the top of the homepage on FascinationStreetPod.com and do all of your shopping through Amazon. Once you click on it and it takes you to Amazon, you can bookmark it or add it to your favorites and you won't have to go to my site each time. It helps me keep the show going, and again, thanks for listening.
Hey, are you interested in getting from A to B while sitting? At Detroit Bikes, we've got a new product that I think you're going to love. It's a bicycle. It's got 2 wheels, hence the bi. And the sickle is because it's a cycle that your wheels go in. So this is a product where you've got a seat. You are actually sitting while moving.
Wow.
And, it's as easy as just pedaling, pushing with your legs. So we think that customers are going to love this product, and we hope you'll check it out at www.detroitbikes.com.
www.detroitbikes.com.
Let's get back into it.
I don't know if everybody has a favorite number, but I do. And my favorite number is 47, except during this conversation. I think I read that something like 47,000 people commit suicide every year.
Yep.
Is that worldwide or just in America?
That's just in America.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And is there a particular age range or group that is more susceptible than others?
Well, actually highest in middle-aged white males, but it's the second leading cause of death in teens and young adults aged 10 to 24. So we have 10-year-olds that are committing suicide, and young people when their lives are just starting, which just, I can't fathom that. That just doesn't sit right. I mean, it doesn't sit right with me regardless, but
It doesn't compute, right?
yeah, it's not right that these kids feel that that's their only option.
You said it's called the Warrior in Me tour?
Mm-hmm.
Is that named after your new forthcoming album?
It is.
Before we get off of Angel in the Sky, where can people go if they want to contribute to this wonderful nonprofit organization?
They can go to the nonprofit's website, which is www.angelinthesky.org.
.org, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some happier stuff. Tell me about your new album, Warrior in Me. Oh, first I want you to tell me, I think I said Charisse earlier, and did you say it's Cherie?
Cherie, yeah.
Cherie Bultori?
Spaltori.
Oh my gosh, I'm just messing this all up. Anyway, will you say her name again? And then she gave you some really kind of cool advice about how to name songs. Can you share that with us also?
Yeah. Cherie Spaltori, I literally call her the Nashville Oprah. She is just amazing. And she told me when coming up with titles for songs, 3 words or less, but one is best. And whenever I go into writing sessions, I try to always do that. So a lot of my titles are 1-word titles, but no more than 3 words.
You know, when I heard that bit of advice, I was trying to roll through my mental Rolodex and try and find some song titles, you know, in popular culture that did not follow those guidelines. Mm-hmm. And it was a little difficult because I think that the ones that don't follow those guidelines, we don't really hear about.
Yep.
Michael Jackson comes to mind, one of the biggest selling artists of all time. And I think the only song that I could think of for him that was more than, 3 words was Man in the Mirror. And I don't know if you can count the
right
as an extra word, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But, his biggest songs were all just 1 word,
yep.
Bad and Thriller. And that's really cool. I like that bit of advice. And so thank you for sharing that with my audience.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about Warrior in Me. And it's not even the Warrior in Me. It's just Warrior in Me.
Warrior in Me.
Tell me why you named it that.
I was going to name the outreach program Angel in the Sky to coincide with the nonprofit, but I wanted to give the kids a positive message, and this album is kind of going to tie into my tour and be like the catapult for my tour. So I wanted them to be linked, and I wanted the kids to have a very positive message to grab onto. Not just the kids, people in general. And I felt like no matter what battles we're facing, we all have a warrior in us that's willing to fight. And for some people, that warrior is themselves. For some people, that warrior is the Holy Spirit living within them. But we all have that power inside of us, that warrior to press on and keep fighting the good fight. And that's kind of what I want this album to be. I want it to be an anthem for people to say, okay, I've struggled, I've had a hard time, but I'm fighting. I'm a warrior.
So is the album themed? Are all the songs on the album centered around being a warrior or finding the warrior inside you?
They all have that theme. Well, almost all of them. Yeah. Almost all of them have that theme of fighting a battle or overcoming, just very inspirational and, I hope inspirational. That's the goal anyway, is for it to inspire them to fight and keep going no matter what the struggle is. There's going to be one song on there that's a little darker, and that's going to be called Silent Suffering. And that's really deeply personal for me because that's about my cutting. After my brother died, one of the unhealthy coping mechanisms I chose was cutting, and that song is about that and a conversation my Aunt Linda had with me that basically saved my life. So that's kind of the premise. I think that's the only song on the project that isn't going to have that fight, we can do this or you can do this message.
Gotcha. The tour that you are going to take this on, is that going to be across America, or are you going to go back to Europe?
We're going to start in Florida and Tennessee, and then hopefully be able to grow it nationwide and then globally. But I'd rather start small in my hometown and in Nashville, since Nashville's kind of become my home too in the last year. So in the two places I feel most at home, work out all the kinks, get it going like a well-oiled machine, and then take it nationally and, like I said, hopefully globally.
Nice. I do know that you had occasion to tour across Europe in places like Prague, Vienna, Poland, Holland, England, Belgium, stuff like that. What for?
That was back in middle school. I had the amazing opportunity to tour with my school for Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is such an amazing cause. And we would go into like the hospitals and sing for the sick kids. And I just loved doing that and seeing the joy that music brought to them, even though we were singing in English and, some of these kids, didn't speak our language, they still understood it because music truly is a universal language. That makes me think of like one of my favorite quotes, when all words fail, still music speaks.
Ooh, who said that?
I don't know, but I love it. I have no idea who said it.
That is a wonderful quote. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea who said that. I should look that up. But I had such fond memories of like singing for the kids and seeing the joy the music brought to them.
You want me to blow your mind?
Sure.
That quote is attributed to Hans Christian Andersen.
Huh. Okay.
Mind blown, right? Do you have a favorite song on Warrior in Me? That's hard, right? Okay, let me rephrase it. Make it a little easier. Do you have a favorite child?
That's a more accurate question. It's literally like when my publisher Dallas and I were sitting down to make the decisions for this album and weed through the songs. I mean, since moving to Nashville, I've written like 80 some songs. So we had like 80 some songs to weed through. And it literally was like picking my children. I'm going to probably say, just because it's one of the most personal for me lyrically, that's the only reason I'm going to go with it, is probably going to be Silent Suffering. I fought really hard for that song to be on the project just because of how deeply personal it is to me. It's really the only song where I talk about my cutting so honestly and so openly.
Well, I know I asked you a big favor earlier. I'm going to ask that again. Can I play that song? It's okay if you say no.
I was going to say that song hasn't even been recorded yet, so...
Are there any of the songs off that album that are recorded already?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. Hey guys, so this is the newest single, Dare to Dream, off of Briana Dominica's newest album, Warrior in Me. Cool. So, Briana, where can we go to find out where you're going to be touring?
You can go to my website, brianadominica.com. BRIANA.
Nope, you're wrong. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
DOMENICA.com.
You know what's really funny is I thought you were going to say DOMENICA. I don't know why I thought you were going to do that. Thank you for telling us where we can go to find out if you're going to come to a city near us. Hopefully you'll go to a city near my dad at least and go see him. I mean, he can go see you. Yeah, you should go do a tour at my dad's house. Maybe, hopefully it'll be somewhere near him and he can go check you out since I won't be able to get out there to Florida or Tennessee. But maybe you'll come through Texas. I'm over here by Austin, so maybe you'll come through here.
Yeah, definitely. I do have some family out in Texas, so.
Everybody does.
Yep.
And then maybe, on your between tour dates, since everybody loves downtime, you can just go work some more on 6th Street in Austin. Go play some places down there for the heck of it. Because, you won't be tired of playing by then for sure.
No.
Briana, where can everybody find you on the various social medias?
I am on Facebook and Instagram. I don't do Twitter. Twitter's not my thing, but Facebook and Instagram, and you can find me on YouTube and Spotify, and it's Briana Dominica Music.
Briana Dominica Music. Okay, on all of those platforms?
Yes.
Well, that makes it certainly easy. Now, Briana, before I let you go, can you tell me about, I think that a couple of months ago, you came out with an original Christmas song. I think it's called "O Night Divine." Tell me about that.
Yes, it was great. I got to work with a fantastic Grammy-nominated producer named Nate Cornell, and I co-wrote it with two very good friends of mine, Donna DeSopo and Scott Barrier. And it was actually my first original Christmas song that I released, so I'm really excited about that. And we did a music video for it, which was my first music video, so a lot of firsts with this song. It was a cool experience.
Very cool. And how was it released? Like Spotify and all the normal places? Is that how it came out? Oh, cool. What made you write a Christmas song?
Because I love Christmas.
That is the best answer you could possibly have given. I love it. So, Briana, before I let you go, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about? Is there something I didn't ask maybe that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. Well, Briana, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to sit down and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
It was 100% my pleasure. And, I'll tag you all over the place when this thing comes out.
Perfect. And I will share it on my platforms as well.
Holler. Thank you, Briana. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I know that place that you're living in. I've heard those lies that you believe. You're not invisible.
As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.